This is what happens when you congregate the global leaders of the world together. I love to see this happen. And it's just a pleasure for me and such a privilege to have every single one of you here today. So, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to our global community joining us from across continents. Today is International Labor Day. We call it in my country El Día del Trabajo, a day that's traditionally meant to honor work. But tonight, we're not, or today, or this morning, we're just not here to celebrate work. We are here to question it, to challenge it, and to redefine it. Things have changed. We all know how much things have changed. But here is the truth. The world of work is not evolving slowly. It is being rewritten right now as we speak. Let me ground this in reality for all of us. Over 60% of the global workforce is in informal or unstable employment. Nearly 1 in 2 workers worldwide will need to reskill by 2030 or even sooner. And despite everything, women still hold only about 64% of the economic rights of men globally. Not only that, today, 1 out of every 6 child around the world has not been able to go to school due to many issues. This terribly affects our workforce in the next 15, 20, and 25 years. So let's pause on that, because this is not just about jobs anymore. This is about access, about power. This is about who gets to participate in the future and who gets left behind. This is why we really wanted to have this global entrepreneurship and leadership session, putting them together, because we need your leadership to step into where we used to feel so confident with our workforce. We've seen incredible shifts. From employment, we want to go to that fundamental shift to initiative, from positions to ownership, from systems to include a few, now to systems that will be built for all of us. So again, this is just not a regular session. I want us to feel uncomfortable because there's some uncomfortable truths right now. The old model is not broken. It just was never built for everyone. And you know that. But we can't continue to work with a model that was designed for 1950s and 60s. So the question is no longer, where do I work? The real question is, how do I create value in a world that's constantly changing? May that be in my own business? May that be in somebody else's corporation? How do we do this? The truth is that entrepreneurs have a key, and leaders do also. So today, I want to bring you all together. This is where entrepreneurship rises. This is where leadership rises. And this is not a trend. This is not a buzzword, but a pathway to participation and leadership. Leadership is no longer a title. We used to say, oh, that person is a leader because they were loud, because they were an extrovert. Today, we understand that leaders come in all shapes and sizes and from all different places. Leadership is a responsibility to build what does not exist, to open doors that were never designed to open, and to create access where systems have failed. And this is why today matters. This is why I appreciate every single one of you. Your time is money. Your time is valuable. And I really appreciate you being here today. This is not just a conversation about labor. This is a conversation about direction. So at International Internship University, through Mahila Udiami and Global Festival, we bring you this incredible session with the most amazing leaders. We're not just talking about empowerment anymore. We are building infrastructure, because empowerment without access is just a conversation, and we're tired of having conversations. So tonight, today, and this morning, you will hear voices from around the world. We have leaders, entrepreneurs, visionaries, but most importantly, you will hear people who are not waiting for permission. They're shaping the future on their own because they believe this is their calling. So I invite you to listen differently, not as participants, not as bystanders, but as builders. And I know every single one of you is doing this with us today, and everyone who's following us. Think about this. Where do you fit in this equation? Because the next era of work will not be given, it will be created. So I want to start by first being thankful and so appreciative to advocate Piyush Pandit. He's not only a business partner, but he's definitely the visionary leader who has created not only IIU's platform, but many other platforms, opening the door to many other people. He's one of those leaders that creates opportunities. He creates jobs. He moves development. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce Ambassador Dr. Srividhya Sukumar. Dr. Srividhya Sukumar is a wealth of a woman. She's so much power, so many opportunities that she has to help us all. And she gave me the opportunity to bring Layal in. So thank you for being so flexible and for being one of our strongest pillars here in IIU. So I'm not going to take any more time. Dr. Srividhya, the virtual podium is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Virginia. Thanks for this wonderful evening and the great opportunity that you have been creating and giving to all people across the globe, and commemorating each important days across the globe and allowing us to celebrate it on this common platform, virtual dias like this. Thank you. And your thoughtfulness is genuinely appreciated here. Commendable indeed. Thank you so much. And my sincere thanks to IIU for creating such a platform in reuniting the world under the small screen. Just can't believe this, but still happening just because of IIU. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Well, today's topic, work is not disappearing, it is redefined, where re-engineering is taking place. With all the mindset transformation, with the technology fluency and the systemic policy reforms which are coming up, thereby we are not scared of AI anymore, but our labor market is going to be driven by AI. That's what is expected out of it when we talk about redefining the workforce on this special day of May 1st of May. And it's not going to be May, it's going to be, we are going to be there. So what is required is basically the AI fluency and the human-centric skills which are required. And when we do this, the full stack building or the infrastructure with, as many of the eminent leaders who have mentioned before me, the leadership by the design, with the decentralized structures, as Mr. Anthony was mentioning, the apps and systems have become so, which has come into the pocket fold. With the redesigning workflows, so thereby it is closing the entrepreneurial gap. We are not just job seekers, but we are job givers, thereby with targeted investment strategies which will support this whole investment plan which is coming up without leaving a gap even for the gender, thereby balancing it with the gender lens investing, with the caregiving infrastructure and the networking and the collaboration that Ma'am Linda Pereira was mentioning. Definitely, this will reframe the whole failure such that to reach the success of the gig workers, the formal recognition of the gig workers and the right to disconnect and the digital identification and portability which is being involved in it. Thereby, it is always contributing to the SDGs, thereby achieving what is to be achieved by 2030. So on that note, please allow me to share my screen. Let me go a little further fast because I've been given 10 minutes and I've been told that no extra. So I'm going to stick on to that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Virginia. The blueprint of the work 2026, that's what is navigating AI with the entrepreneurship and the equity of labor in the rewired economy. That's what we are going to talk about today, where we reaffirm saying that work isn't ending, but it is waiting to be built. So the myth was that we all had that humans are going to be replaced by machines. But the reality is that what is required, we need to evolve. As the other speakers were mentioning before me, the change is the only thing which is permanent, and we need to adapt and evolve so that with the integration, augmentation, with the synergy, adaptation, efficiency, and the integration of the work, that by 85% of the professionals are in job where AI can automate at least quarter of the task. So the job is not disappearing, but the tasks are changing. We are going to be working, but they changed, not the same thing that we were doing for years, but our jobs will change. We'll start working with the AI, where the survival depends on the skill-based task execution, not the title retention. So, welcome to Work 4.0, an era defined by the human augmentation, gig integration, and borderless entrepreneurship. So if we do this, if we want to do this, what is required is the 5 macro forces architecture. The first one is the evolution of the technology with AI-based skill-based economy, moving from titles as I am the dash, 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 to tasks. Exactly, focusing and narrowing it down, funneling it down to the tasks which are to be completed, which will be based on the psychological mindset with the transition of the entrepreneurial autonomy. We said change is the only thing which is permanent, but balancing with the sociological evolution, with the gender and the systemic equity, closing the 2.3 funding gap, not between the male and female, relating it to the connected leadership that we have been working on, we have been visioning through, we have been imagining with co-creation and borderless digital networks, thereby coming into the policies and the execution with the regulatory boards, with redefining labor rights, formalizing the gig economy and establishing the protections. Thereby, survival requires a total rewiring of how we learn, lead, and protect. So if we had to do that, first thing is the first one, take the 3 buckets of work. The first one is here, the automated, the base level where AI does everything and the humans are thrown out. That's what the threat is all about. The second bucket is augmented middle layer where human and AI will work together in collaboration, bringing a prototype or whatever, iterate and cross-pollinate. That's what Mr. Anthony was mentioning. So bucket 3 is unique human who will be formalizing the things and getting things done with the capabilities of missions and high-stake judgment and policies, bringing in this policy structure and infrastructure where coalition building and collaboration, baseline assumptions, everything can happen. So as tasks consolidate in buckets 1 and 2, missions out of missions, as forcing us to become more intrepid, imaginative, and strictly human. So when you take force 1 as a tech, the risk of the full stack builder, what is that? The legacy paradigm is long lead times with the communication, the weeks of delay which has been happening. We will gain expertise of the domain with the AI fluency, and we will be able to take it forward to the entrepreneurial drive. So if you do that, the AI is the new table stakes, the truly competitive advantage shifts from the raw material, which is in the form of program or whatever this, to the technical execution of the explanatory storytelling. When somebody has to communicate, as other people, other speaker are also mentioning, communicate, bring it to the people, make this to society understand so that they are not scared of change. They will evolve themselves with a bold imagination. With force 2, the psychology, the mind grade to upgrade is that the motivation in the previous legacy employee is that the salary or the hierarchy promotion, whereas here the motivation becomes the intrinsic visionary drive and the deep sense of purpose. Why I need to do this? Because not only to survive, but also to evolve, but also to learn. The second is the risk profile, avoiding the fear of personal failing, priority, stability, everything. Here in entrepreneurship, it reframes and setbacks the necessary stepping stones for rapid iteration. So iteration. So structure and action, which was with the strict procedures, relies on defined roles, waits for explicit direction. Say, for example, coming late for work, now you are being fired. So it's not like that. If you're allowed to work from home, you're do anything, but the work should not suffer with the proactive initiative, creating structure where none exists. With a career pathing from the linear corporate ladder, with a linear management structure to squiggly line of non-linear opportunity seeking. So if you do that, the rigid hierarchy command model will become agile decentralization, where top-down directors and slow information flow, strictly bottleneck, will become cross-functional teams, shared ownership, empowering for frontline workers with decentralized authority to rapidly test and deploy tools locally. So the electricity analogy is the swapping the team for electricity yielded no gains until the factory flow was redesigned. So the leaders must redesign the workflows around AI and empowering the frontline testing rather than dictating the top-down usage. So the strategic imperative is that leaders cannot simply swap human labor for AI. They must execute the total workflow, redesigning and unleashing the human capability. Force 3 is a sociology that we all know that we are really working on. The bottom funnel is the capital output, where female-only founding teams to capture only 2.3 of the global funding. The bottleneck in the evaluation is that out of $67 million male counterparts, the average venture comes between for female is 46. So to balance this with the 46, 49, if we do that with the ambition for giving more gaps about that, 49% of the US business are started by women. And we have a woman on our board right through. Many of us have been entrepreneurs, have got startups as leading examples for today. So this is not a gap in capability or ambition. It's a profound structural failure in capital allocation, starving with the economy of innovation. So to deconstruct the systemic barriers of sociology, that we need to have allocations done with the investor buyers, balancing the investor buyers to the pattern matching, thereby bringing up the bedrock of algorithm buyers to invisible bedrock barrier with the hidden caregiving burden. So if we bridge this gap between the capital and the networks, we will be able to manage a beautiful flow of digital network with the three foundation infrastructures of mandated transparency, targeted childcare, and integrated co-working, etc. With the regulation, the vulnerability of decentralized labor, the scale, the cost, and the systemic gap will be balanced, will be managed through with the current frameworks, treating gig and informal workers as invisible entities, exposing them to the legal ambiguity and utter lack of psychological protections. So if we do that with the regulation, the new social contract has to be developed with the universal labor guarantees and the portable benefits with the right to disconnect, and to create a macro to micro management alignment with the individual, organization, policy, and the finance. Truly, organizational and economic resilience requires the four systemic pillars operating and upgrading simultaneously, such that no domain is left behind. First, it starts with the individual, then with the organization, then with the policy, finally aligning it to the finance part of it. The conclusion is define tomorrow and act today, so that you build an AI fluency, adopt an entrepreneurial OS, and architect the inclusive systems, such that the future belongs to the organizations, the individuals who choose to lead by design rather than by command. Work isn't ending, it is waiting to be rebuilt. So the whole, in summary, we have just saw the system of work, blueprint of work to 2026, navigating from AI to entrepreneurial shift, from the individual evolution from the title to task, with the three bucket strategy, and the systemic blueprint of equity and protection, with the gender bias, managing the gender bias, thereby evolving into a social contract, thereby leadership by design, but not by command. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dr. Virginia, for this great opportunity. And I think
you were amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I know that it was a lot of information for a little bit of time, but wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing depth and clarity to leadership in this moment, right? What action has to be taken? I truly appreciate it. Let me move this here to gallery. There we go. I saw something, 85% of professionals, their work can actually be replaced by AI. That definitely means that change has to happen. And how do we move from this? By redesigning a new workflow that does not replace, rather becomes more efficient. So thank you so much for bringing that and telling us about deconstructing systematic barriers. I think they have been barriers not only in the AI time, it's been like this for a long time, where we've been only allowing certain people to grow and to be, into those incredible positions, but not allowing everybody. And now I think AI has allowed us to equalize, because we're all starting. So this is the new social contract. Thank you again for sharing all of this with us today.